Hello everyone, it's your casual gamer Meep here and welcome back to the channel. Originally I had planned to do the artist next by request of Potato Nurse, to which I am sorry that this video is not on her, but instead it's going to be on the Plague. The reason I decided to change the killer is because the request came right as the Ringu P2B went live, and with the Onryo, let's just say, she has some perks that I want to use in an artist build or two, hence a delay in the series for the artist. Also, because the perks are subject to change until they come to live servers, I didn't want to create a video with a changed perk description or effect that would otherwise render the build immediately outdated or entirely wrong altogether. When the Ringu chapter DLC drops sometime in March, which according to the DBD wiki is going to be on March 8th, I will start making the top 5 builds video for the artist. In the meantime though, I hope this video about our favorite Vami Mami will be to your liking. Like each video in this series, these builds are designed to take advantage of our various add-ons and will vary based on fun, effectiveness, and overall lore. If you enjoy the video, consider leaving a like as it helps promote the video through YouTube, and consider subscribing for more content. Now, onto the builds. If you've heard of the meme and or game that the floor is lava in which you actively try to avoid touching the floor unless you die, then you'll understand the idea behind this build. The one minor exception is instead of the floor being the lava, it's actually the generators. Where you see, the Plague has this one brown add-on, which I assume is supposed to be her meme add-on, but it's surprisingly effective, and that's the Prayer Tablet Fragment. The reason I say it's a meme is because when you normally puke on survivors, it would infect them and ultimately make them sick, but with this add-on it completely removes that altogether. But instead it gives you the crazy effects like increasing the time objects in the environment stay infected, and also makes survivors sicker much faster when they interact with an infected object. In this case it's generators. The second add-on for this build is the Severed Toe add-on, which also increases the rate at which survivors get sick when interacting with an infected object, again being the generators for this build. With these two add-ons, you can cause survivors to get sick really quickly and keep them injured for the majority of the game, lest they cleanse and give you your Corrupt Purge. The perks are Corrupt Intervention, Thanatophobia, Hysteria, and Gearhead. Corrupt Intervention blocks the 3 furthest generators from your spawn point at the beginning of the trial for up to 120 seconds. This is more or less to buy you time in the beginning of the game so you can make your way around the map and puke on the generators that are not being blocked. This way you can start getting your add-ons to come into play much more quicker than you would otherwise. And as survivors start working on the generators and become broken from the sickness, Thanatophobia will slow them down. Thanatophobia decreases survivor action speeds by 5% for each injured, hooked, and dying state survivor, and in this particular case, it's reducing the generator speed. Not only will they be slowed down, but each time a survivor goes from being healthy to broken as a result of sickness, Hysteria will activate for up to 30 seconds. When this happens, all injured survivors suffer from the Oblivious status effect, so unless they have line of sight on us or we're chasing them already, they're not going to really know where we are whenever the perk is active. Similar to Hysteria, Gearhead can also activate when a survivor goes from healthy to broken from being sick. While Gearhead is active, when a survivor goes to perform a good skill check while repairing a generator, their aura is revealed to us for up to 10 seconds. This build overall just encourages you to play the Plague differently by using her Vile Purge differently, and with the perks on add-ons it's surprisingly effective because the time it takes survivors to get broken with both of these add-ons is like less than 15 seconds, which is crazy because like for the majority of the generators they're going to be slowed down from Thanatophobia, and basically they're just going to be instantly broken the vast majority of the trial. Like, I'm really surprised the Prayer Tablet Fragment is a brown add-on, to be honest. For an even nastier alternative build that functions similarly, you can keep the Prayer Tablet Fragment from the previous build and pair it with the Black Incense add-on. This add-on has the effect that whenever a survivor goes to vomit from being sick, their aura is revealed to you for up to 3 seconds. And this typically happens every 5 to 15 seconds according to the DBD wiki, which is surprisingly effective. Meanwhile, the perks for this build aim at concealing your approach to the survivors after seeing them with the Black Incense. I call it the Reveal and Conceal build. The perks for this build are Trail of Torment, Fearmonger, Hex Plaything, and Hex Pentimento. The first perk, Trail of Torment, activates when you go to kick a generator, after which the generator's aura is revealed to all survivors in yellow. While Trail of Torment is active, you become undetectable until either a survivor is damaged by any means, including by being sick, or the generator stops progressing altogether. This is best used when all the survivors are injured already from being sick, to avoid the perk deactivating unintentionally from someone going from healthy to broken a few seconds after you activate the perk. To help conceal Trail of Torment, Fearmonger is here because when survivors are working on generators, they suffer from the blindness status effect, meaning they won't see auras, including the yellow generator from Trail of Torment, thus concealing the effect of that perk. It also applies the exhaustion status effect, so when we are able to sneak up on the survivor who's working on the generators, they can't just simply sprint burst away or dead hard if they're broken already. Meanwhile, Hex Plaything is concealed from the survivors until they are hooked for their first time. When this happens, a Dull Totem becomes a Hex Totem, and they suffer from the Oblivious status effect until their respective totem is cleansed. For the first 90 seconds, however, after a Plaything totem is created, only the affected survivor can cleanse it. If they do cleanse it, they waste their time going out of their way to do so, but if they stay broken and don't decide to cleanse the totem, then they're just going to be in a world of pain because they're not going to know we're coming after them after we see them with the Black Incense add-on. And as for the last perk, Hex Pentimento, it's more or less here as a surprise factor. perk remains hidden for most of the game until the survivor starts cleansing their Hex Plaything totems. Whenever a survivor goes to cleanse one of these totems, its location is revealed to us, and with Pentimento we can rekindle that totem and create a stack of Pentimento. Each stack applies more debuffs to the survivors, but the most important one happens after the first stack, and that is generator repair speeds are reduced by 30%, which is a massive penalty towards slowing down the game altogether. These two builds alone just highlight the Prayer Tablet fragment and prove it's more than a meme add-on and can make for fun builds despite being a brown rarity add-on. This next build is a bit more gimmicky, but plays with the idea of generators being completed and making the Plague stronger overall. I call it the Gen Powerhouse Plague, as the generators are the powerhouse of the build. The first part of the build are the add-ons, specifically the Iridescent Seal, which has the effect that when a generator is completed, you instantly get your Corrupt Purge, but at the cost of the duration being reduced by 20 seconds. Meanwhile, the second add-on, the Devotee's Amulet, offsets the reduced duration by increasing it by 20 seconds for our Corrupt Purge, thus cancelling off the negative effects of the Iridescent Seal. The perks also play into the idea as well and are Discordance, Tinkerers, Deadlock, and Coup de Grace. Discordance highlights a generator in yellow to us anytime 2 or more survivors are working on the same generator together. This is great in the early game because survivors tend to spawn grouped together, and Discordance can help us find them much more easily. It's also good for keeping track of where survivors are during the trial as well. As for Tinkerer, it's here to alert us whenever a generator reaches 75% completion, so we can better position ourselves to take advantage of the upcoming Corrupt Purge that we're about to see through the Iridescent Seal add-on. While Tinkerer is active for the next 16 seconds, we become undetectable, which can allow us to surprise the survivors working on the Tinkerer affected generator and down them with the Corrupt Purge if they decide to finish it before we are able to get there altogether. If we decide not to go back for the generator, we can surprise the person we're currently chasing or about to chase with our Corrupt Purge from the Iridescent Seal. Meanwhile, the next 2 perks focus on generators being completed altogether. Starting with Deadlock, whenever a generator is completed, the next generator with the most amount of progress is blocked by the entity for up to 30 seconds. This is meant to delay multiple generators from being completed in close proximity of each other time-wise, so you can better space out the effects of the Iridescent Seal add-on. And lastly, Coup de Grace is here as a bit of a surprise factor, as each time a generator is completed, we gain a token. Each token increases our next lunge range attack by up to 80%. Mainly this is here to use when Corrupt Purge is on cooldown, and to play a little bit more aggressively than normal at certain loops that you can just reach around with the extra lunge range. Overall, this build is pretty fun and highlights the Iridescent Seal add-on for the Plague, which I feel like is underrated compared to the Black Incense add-on. Up next is what I like to call the Pursue and Deny build. This build aims to find survivors quickly and break them quickly, while denying their routes of escape. The add-ons are the Rubbing Oil, which allows you to charge up your Vile Purge and Corrupt Purge faster than normal, and the second add-on is the Infected Emetic, which increases the effectiveness of Vile Purge, meaning it breaks survivors faster than normal. The perks are Lethal Pursuer, Bamboozle, No Way Out, and Blood Warden. Lethal Pursuer reveals the aura of all survivors for up to 9 seconds at the start of the trial, and is overall meant to reduce the amount of time we spend looking for survivors at the start of the game. Meanwhile, Bamboozle is here to block off windows and chase after vaulting them for up to 16 seconds, and the extra vault speed of 15% is also a nice buff to her as well. As for the next 2 perks, although you don't have much in terms of slowdown with this build, it's made up for in the endgame with No Way Out and Blood Warden. At the end of the game, No Way Out blocks the Exegate switches for up to 12 seconds whenever a survivor goes to touch it for the first time, and it also gives you a loud noise notification as well whenever they do this. And each time you hook a survivor their first time, it also increases the timer by an additional 12 seconds as well. So if you get all 4 stacks of No Way Out, that's a guaranteed extra minute of locking the survivors into the trial. And if the survivors are able to outlast No Way Out and open the Exegates, if you hook a survivor, Blood Warden will lock the survivors into the trial for an additional minute as well, thus denying their ability to escape. With the ability to break survivors quickly with the add-ons and the endgame, this shouldn't be too difficult to activate. Overall, this build is meant to enjoy the small buffs from the add-ons and Bamboozle without worrying about the time crunch before all the generators are powered, and instead focuses on the endgame. As for the last build, the Plague's lore-based build, Adiris, who would grow up to be the Plague, grew up in ancient Babylon, and as a child, she was abandoned on the steps of the Temple of Purgation. She would be taken in by the temple's caregivers and would work ferociously caring for the temple and the people around her, believing that God had a plan for her. Her fervent dedication to caring for the sacred temple leads me to believe she would also act in a similar manner in the realm of the entity, with the basement acting as a place for sacredness for her as a killer. Monstrous Shrine best reflects this, as caring for the hooks in the basement increases their effects, such as punishing survivors more for trying to escape from the basement hooks, and decreasing the time overall it takes to sacrifice them to the entity. When Adiris came of age, she would help the priest in performing rituals, including purification ones. Around this time outside the city, a plague of sickness had started spreading, and it would soon make its way to the priest who performed purification rituals on the sick, as they thought it would help the sick. After some time though, all the priests were unable to perform the rituals due to being sick as well, leaving Adiris the only able and knowledgeable person in the temple to carry out the rituals. When it came time for her to perform her first ritual, During this ceremony, one of her followers had collapsed. Seeing how the plague had affected her follower's foot, without hesitation, she took a dagger and severed her own toe and offered it to the gods to save the woman's life. Adirus' commitment to performing the ritual and taking up the mantle and becoming the priestess of Babylon is best summed up in our own teachable perk, Dark Devotion, when, because it's a dark time, the plague's commitment to her faith was unshakable. Dark Devotion activates whenever you go to hit the obsession with a basic attack. You become undetectable for 30 seconds and transfer a 32-meter wide fake tear radius to the obsession while Dark Devotion is active. Because of the events that were happening all around her, her self-imposed becoming of the priestess of Babylon, despite her anxiousness and her determination to lead her people to the point of self-mutilation, is akin to forced penance. Forced penance causes a survivor to become broken for 80 seconds whenever they take a protection for another survivor. Being surrounded by those who had the sickness by performing the rituals, Adirus slowly started to show the symptoms of the disease herself. Out of shame for her symptoms, she would don a headpiece to cover parts of her skin and carry a censer to mask the smell of her sickened skin. Adirus, in a manner to appease the gods, would leave the city with a few followers and would walk until they couldn't anymore, ultimately camping out in a cave whenever they needed to. Recognizing that they had the sickness, the plague, they joined together in one last prayer, knowing that they didn't have much time left. Adirus was never seen from again, and like in other characters' backstories, it is a result of the entity bringing them into the realm of the fog. Adirus, up until the very end, she was physically unrelenting in performing the rituals and wanting to help others around her. She was also unrelenting in her faith, believing the gods would save her and her people from this suffering. The last perk of the build is Unrelenting, which has the effect that you're able to recover from missed basic attacks by up to 30%. Before I end the video, I just want to say thank you to everyone for the support from the previous top 5 builds video featuring the Spirit. This is the one that's probably blown up the most in the shortest amount of time, and just it's really surprising, and I'm just so grateful that it is. It means a lot to me knowing that y'all are enjoying the content I'm putting out there, especially as a small Dead by Daylight YouTuber. If there's a killer in the top 5 build series that I haven't done yet and you want to see, also if you have ideas for other content that I could do that's Dead by Daylight related, please let me know down in the comment section below as well. And with that being said, we've come to the end of the video. I am me+3, and I will see you next time. Goodbye for now.